I'm joined by a dear old friend of mine, Giorgio Navarini of Floriani Sacred Music.
That's right.
And you also have a Chant for Kids project you're launching.
I have it's called Chant for Children, and it's a program, online program for kids who want to learn how to sing Gregorian chant.
That's cool.
And within the context of the liturgical year, and yeah,
that's tight. Let's talk about the beard. How long you been rocking it?
This is going on month 3. I shaved it for a little while, and then our agent forbade me to ever go clean shaven again. So I am under obedience. I have to maintain
I disagree.
My bearded look.
That's crazy. Giorgio and I are both from Northern California. We are both paesani.
That's right.
From we both have ancestry from Bari in the Puglia. We've both been to the ancestral land. Giorgio's family still has a farm, right, in Mola?
We have land that is being squatted on currently by someone, but yeah.
That's terrible. Sorry to hear it.
It was kind of well deserved because we don't do anything with it, so it's like someone's using it.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about who's the bad guy in that story. Might be you guys.
All right.
Okay, so in this episode, we're actually going to talk about our shared love of our homeland. We're going to talk about some experiences we've had in churches with chant. See, Georgia and I are both crazy people. We do a similar thing, maybe with a different focus. I know you do this because I've seen it on the internet. We like to go into churches, sacred spaces, and sing, whether we have asked for permission or not. And I think it's one of those situations where...
Mainly not asking for permission.
Yeah, I don't think I ever have.
Always better ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't even really want to ask for forgiveness because like these churches belong to our Catholic faith. And it's like, I have to ask for permission to sing here, but I can like talk out loud and like shout my voice. And
okay,
like,
hold your horses. So we're talking about, let's say you go to a tourist big church let's talk about Parma. Parma's great.
Parma, okay.
I had a very similar experience. I think Parma is a good starting place. So tell us about the Baptistry.
Okay, well, we will probably include a link to the... I was with my group, Floriani, and we were visiting Parma, and we went into the Baptistry of the cathedral, and we sang the Vidi Aquam, which is like the most fitting text for baptistry. Vidi Aquam is the...
I saw water
flowing from the temple. And we were having just a really beautiful spiritual experience singing it. And all these tourists were looking at us, and most of them were mesmerized. And then at the end of it, this security guard, she comes over and she's like, "No se puede," you basically can't sing in here. I was like, what the heck? Like this is meant for, music. That's the story basically.
I am very shocked to hear that because the Parma Cathedral, I visited last year, man, you would have thought there were donkeys and baboons in there because it was a cacophony of life. I think there was like a piñata party happening. I liked it, honestly. Honestly, I liked it because it didn't have any pews. There were no chairs to be seen. It was this massive vaulted stone hall, beautiful, obviously, very, very. It was sort of Gothic. It's very old, it's dark in there, but man, it was bananas. They were like, but honestly, when you think about how the temple probably was for most of Christendom, at least the Parma Cathedral was full of people. Like it was a meeting place of culture. When I saw it last year, it would have been better if they were like doing something, and maybe they were. I just didn't understand it. I went in May.
You probably, I was there during May too. You were probably witnessing one of their confirmations or.
It didn't look liturgical. Okay. There was a mass going on somewhere.
I think the same thing happened to me. It was like this bonanza of life.
I think it always is.
And
I think certain churches have this very connected ancient tradition where it's just like bananas. And honestly, as long as there's not the sacrifice of the mass going on, but even if there, it kind of shocks me that like the 1962 missal, for example, or the TLM.
Man. Are we going there?
No, I mean, it just shocks me that there's no instructions for postures for the laity.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that an interesting thought? So there actually probably are a million different variations, even across like time space, of what people do during mass.
I think it's probably the best way to go. It's like if you have a devotion of, I don't know, I mean, we probably should all kneel at the consecration or show some type of like, a posture of humility. It could be like a full prostration, or I don't know, maybe not. But I do like the idea of just people able to have their own popular devotion. And that's partly because I hate pews.
They ruin the sound. Pews. That's okay. So George and I both hate pews. Not because we don't like sitting down. We're sitting down right now. We love sitting down. We love wood. Jesus was a carpenter. But we hate pews because I think this is why we both hate pews. It ruins acoustics, number one. Mm-hmm. And also, I think it's nice to see, like, St. Paul outside the walls. You ever been there in Rome?
Oh, so amazing.
And they never put chairs there.
No chairs.
And that's what Parma looked like. Parma and St. Paul, when I went there, they didn't have chairs set up. And I was like, this is a temple, the greatness of God. There's relics built into the walls, and this is like crazy.
Well, it's definitely a reminder of the fact that churches never actually had pews for the first 13, 14, 15 centuries, really until...
Even longer than that for Catholic churches.
Yeah, probably until the Reformation, you actually start seeing pews be, first of all, taken into Protestant churches and then Catholicized, but I don't know, still not into them.
No, but the point is that you see these churches that were built pre-Pew, like Parma Cathedral, and there's clearly, in the absence of pews, just using a historical imagination, which maybe could be dangerous. Like people probably were. Like there was an edict somewhere. It was, I think, it was in France, and then one in Germany. There's a funny little medieval things you read where it's like this local synod of bishops said, from now on, you can't bring your donkey into the church. They never would have said that unless it was commonplace, because it's not like this is a sitting place. This is a moving, if there's no pews, this is a moving place.
Is that a real line?
Yeah, no, those are real canons.
We should probably write an encyclical on that today. I think it's needed.
The donkeys? Okay, maybe you're making some... I don't know what that is is, Giorgio. But let's go back to churches. So another church that I believe we've both been to, San Nicola.
Oh, yeah.
You said the acoustics are good? I don't remember it because back then I wasn't a little chanty boy. So I didn't. This was pre-me singing in churches randomly. Yeah. But did you sing in there?
I did. I sang, I was with my two buddies and we sang a 3-part piece. I think we sang the Corsican Tota Pulchra S. And so just the white marble of the Bari Cathedral. It was pretty reverberant. It wasn't as reverberant or resonant and like, some sounds just like enrapture you. Like make you feel like the sound is hugging you. But it was like one of those sounds like, wow, this is really getting across and it's just echoing.
Giorgio loves himself a sound hug.
I think one other reason why we like good reverb in churches or just singing in churches is it actually brings to life the architecture. It's like a way of making these walls come alive. I don't know.
If the walls are sacred, then they're actually participating in making the worship sacred. Yeah. You know, Bari Cathedral, for all of the people listening, this is again our titular home town of our ancestry. Bari Cathedral is special because St. Nicholas is buried there. Santa Claus is not in the North Pole. Who would have thought?
Right.
He's in southern Italy, deep
Spoiler alert.
south.
Yep, he's in Bari.
But actually, maybe we should bleep that out because if kids are watching, I think it's a good thing to believe in Santa Claus. I think the North Pole is a fantastic thing to think about. But that's, I mean, leave your comments. I think it's true. I think Santa Claus is in the North Pole, but he's also interred in Bari.
Do you know his bones actually are like a living and constant miracle because they bleed out this like holy water, and so you can get this holy water of Saint Nick in Bari. You ever see that?
Yeah. I've heard of this, but the Orthodox, it's also ground zero for ecumenism because
True ecumenism.
there's this crypt, and the crypt is an active Orthodox shrine, Greek, and there can be like 10 a.m. on a Sunday. You can have like Holy Mass, Western Rite in the upper church, and the Orthodox celebrating the Divine Liturgy in the lower church.
Myself.
That's pretty cool, right?
I like it.
You guys should go see it. It's San Nicola. Okay. Have you ever been kicked out of any other church except for the Baptistry in Parma?
The Pantheon, they actually allowed us to sing.
You sang in the Panth?
The Pantheon in Rome. One of the most incredible acoustics that, it's just...
Is it really incredible?
It is a sound that just enraptures you.
Bro, I love the Pantheon, first of all. I've never sung in that one either. I've only been able to like dart in. We stayed at a hotel last year, some friends of mine that was overlooking the Pantheon. Really cool experience. Great hotel, by the way, if you can ever get a reservation. It's not very expensive. It was Albergo del Senato.
I don't know.
It's Senato. Amazing hotel. Wonderful experience. That's one of my favorite buildings in Rome. You know, it's
well, it's the sound of it. It just, there's just something about the circular kind of structure.
Yeah.
You're basically in a sphere, and as soon as you like let out a sound, it's just like all over the place.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Something else.
You know what? For me, the most reverberant building ever, which surprised me for its size. But if you want to talk about force of sound, next time you're in Florence, sing in the Pazzi Chapel.
Pazzi Chapel? I'm actually going to be in Florence in August. So.
Okay, bro, your head will explode like a watermelon.
Pazzi Chapel.
Nobody's ever in it. It's open all the time. It's connected to Santa Croce. So Santa Croce, where Galileo, everybody, blah, blah, blah. You got Santa Croce, and then you exit into the interior courtyard, and right on your left is where they used to have their oratory. They used to chant the hours or whatever in it, have meetings. And it's not very large. I mean, I would say it's a small to medium sized church. It's not a chapel. It is literally a chapel, but it's not like a tiny chapel.
Right.
But dude, for the sound size, it packs the wildest punch. If I can, I'll play a clip on the podcast.
Anima mea Dominum, et exaltavit spiritus meus, in Deo Salvatore meo.
It's because it's all made of, by the way, Apple Store floors.
Apple Store floors?
Yep, Apple Store floors. Steve Jobs went to Florence in like the early 90s. And he was obsessed with the acoustics and the feel of Pietra Serena, whatever it is. So the blue rock that all of Florence is made of, including the interior of all their great basilicas, and like this chapel is 100% Pietra Serena, the serene rock. It's a type of sandstone.
It's like that blue rock.
Yeah, it's a type of sandstone. And it's not just serene because it's got this nice blue, but it also acoustically is magic. It's magic. And so Steve Jobs was walking around Florence. That's why they have to cut the streets. You know, the streets of Florence are all like really chopped up stone.
I haven't been yet. but
Okay.
I will.
When you go, look down at the streets. And the reason why they forcefully mar the rock is because otherwise it would make every walking along the streets of Florence be the most insane reverb ever, just outside.
That is spectacular.
Yeah, so the whole city is made of this rock. And Steve Jobs made it, the policy, which still exists to this day. Have you noticed the Apple Store has like a nice grayish blue floor? Any Apple Store you've ever been in the world?
I haven't been to one recently. But
Okay, in Apple Store sources, Tuscan sandstone that the Pazzi Chapel is made out of for every floor of the Apple stores in the world. They're made of because Steve Jobs was like, I have to get this rock because it's the best rock I've ever felt, seen, touched, or heard for my Apple stores, which is a crazy thing.
That is extremely interesting.
But the Pazzi Chapel is all Pietrasarina, and it is going to blow your mind.
So this is great intel because I'm bringing my children's school there. So
have them singing it, bro. You know how like we were talking earlier about a church that has like a 7-second reverb, but it doesn't like hug you. Mm-hmm. This church, infinity reverb, but it gives pleasant overtones, like the best reverb pedal you've ever heard. And then all 10 seconds of the reverb, it's strong and is like not just like hugging you. It's like a magic carpet ride is swirling around you, and you're being like like they turn the pumpkin in Cinderella, and it goes like, and her like rags turn into like a nice sparkly dress. The reverb feels like that as you're chanting the Magnificat.
I like your imagination, and I'm definitely going there.
Dude, and both times, I went there twice last year because I had to go back to Florence just to sing in the Pazzi Chapel. Nobody's in there.
You don't know the priest, do you, there?
No,
okay.
I just did it both times. And you know what happened? Both times, nobody stopped me, but they would like come out and start filming, and everyone, there was like chatter, and I was like, why are you chattering in this awesome place? And then you start the chant, and immediately, Magnificat, silence, and then complete ecstasy. You're gonna love it.
It is amazing. We got to sing the Salve Regina in like one of the side chapels of the Vatican, and the Vatican is basically a madhouse now, just because there's so many tourists. But I remember as we started it, you just start hearing like the quieting down of everyone around you.
That's a cool thing. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like they were all waiting for it to happen. It's like they were just waiting for someone to awaken them out of their torpor,
torpor, right?
Torpor.
Topor?
Right?
I like that, dude.
Torpor.
Sometimes I need a good, if my feet are dirty, I need a good topor, dude. Yeah, that happened dude, we were in another beautiful place. You like the Amalfi Coast.
I love,
Yeah, I love it, but I'm also, it's kind of...
You went to the touristy spots.
Well, I've been to a couple. I've been to like Preano. I've been up to
Ravello.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, we were in the Basilica in Positano, and the woman, the sacristan, we did ask her permission. She said, please chant. We chanted matins. And the people, she said afterwards, a miracle happened today.
Morning, you made a miracle in the church, because usually people, when they enter into the church, they're not really very respectful, so group, and they talk loud, sometimes they laugh, But this morning I could see all people facing sign of cross, be quiet, really very, very, how can I say the word? Very respectful, praying, and for me it was a piece of paradise. I'm really very, very proud and deep inside my heart. Thank you so much.
She then took us into the sacristy and told us how she was baptized in this church 82 years ago. It was crazy. But yeah, dude.
That's amazing, yeah.
Or have you ever been to Como?
Yeah, I have been to Como, yeah.
Have you been to Bellagio?
Yeah, that's where we stayed.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to the cathedral there? Was it St. Mark's? Isn't that what it's called? It's old, and it's not very big. It's old.
I did go into that church, yeah.
That's another one where there's a lot of like George Clooney's walking around being like,
right.
And then chant a daytime prayer. Do you chant all in Latin, or you sometimes chant in English when you're in Italy?
It's usually in Latin. Sometimes I remember we were at St. Louis in France, St. Louis in Rome, which is a French church.
Yeah.
It's like a French church in Rome. And we sang the Ave Maria in French, so the Je vous salue. And I think I think the most amazing thing that we've been just kind of covering is like tourists will they're looking for that religious experience. And
they don't even know they are a lot of the time. So when it happens, it makes sense.
We're awakening just by singing in a church. You're awakening that a religious experience in them, and they may think to themselves like, "Oh, I don't believe in God," but then they hear like this ancient Salve Regina, and they're like, minds are blown, and they're like, maybe something does exist out there. Maybe and that's like a first step in the terms of their belief.
Yeah. And, we're all just trying to act like King David. There's a passage in the book of Sirach when it talks about what made David great. And it said that, I'm paraphrasing, we can put the verse up there. It said that after he played with lions and bears and whatever, and killed 10,000 people, it was like he loved the Lord with his whole heart and daily had his praises sung so that even at dawn, the sanctuary would resound. So there's something about the reverb that David was committed. David loved this thing. He loved the big walls of Zion. That's what half the Psalms are about. He just I prefer the gates of Zion to all the dwellings of the wicked, David says. So even just the gates of the building, David prefers even just like the very outside of it to the whole cities of wicked people. Crazy. But yeah, he's obsessed. David is obsessed with the temple. He's obsessed with building God a place. And when he does, what does he do? Is he fills it with reverb constantly, just chants the Psalms all day long. Yeah, and that's what made him great.
I kind of love that because I don't know if you ever read up on Suzanne Hake-Ventura. She was an archaeomusicologist for basically Hebrew chant in the temple. But she argues that harmonies were sung by the Levitical priests in the temple. And she says the reason for that is the reverberations from previous notes would have naturally harmonized, and so it wouldn't have been long for the Levitical priests in the Old Testament to actually start making harmonies.
At the very least, I would imagine them doing drones.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
pedals. Yeah, I mean, you will find, like I said, in that Pazzi Chapel, there's crazy harmonics.
I'm actually really excited to go.
I'm so excited. I need you to send me a clip. Can you film it nice?
Yeah, we'll make some good. Get some good content.
I've only ever sung with like 3 people in there. If you're going with a choir, I want to hear that place, dude. If you sing in there with a children's choir, that place is going to tear in two, and you're going to open up a rift into heaven. I'm telling you, there's going to be a rift.
There will literally be a portal into the transcendent world.
I usually, when I'm in Italy, I sing in Italian or Latin, never in English. I don't want to be like that guy.
What do you sing in Italian?
Just this. I sing my Psalter. I sing like De Tempore Lauds,
okay,
right. Lodi.
Lodi.
They say Lodi.
Lodi.
And then Vespri. Vespers, I just sing the offices usually, but sometimes if there's a particular chant, like to honor, Saint, dude, I don't even know what this church is called. It's on a little island in Rome in the river. There's an island.
Santa Sabina.
You were surrounded by all these. They have only side chapels in this church for martyrs of communist revolutions. Really cool.
Huh.
And they have a lot of like first class relics.
It's not an Orthodox church?
Catholic, Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic, yeah.
And really special in there, I just was like, I'm surrounded by the martyrs, so I sang, 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of the various hymns to the martyrs that are in the office. Like, have you ever heard of Martyr Dei qui unicum? Have you ever heard that one?
I'm not familiar.
The office chants, man. I know 10, 50 million times more than me about the mass chants. You're like, honestly, an inspiration to me. You got to hear some of these office hymns because they're really special, and they're from like the 4th century. So they're equally noble and ancient church compositions, and the tunes are like heartbreaking. It's like,
and I wish there was more opportunities to hear the office. I mean, you have to go to most monasteries, even in Europe, don't really sing the office anymore.
and most like parishes don't, and it's tough, man. That's why I'm so committed to the project. Sing the Hours is because like. There's so many
How
riches.
are we going to make people sing the office again, Paul?
we're not going to make them do anything. We're going to attract them to it by showing its beauty, and it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It's because people have been like just reading it silently so much in the last few hundred years. How can you make anybody want to just like, if I told you, Giorgio, I have this project where we're going to read The Hobbit. You're like, sick, dude. And we're going to read The Hobbit over and over again every week for the rest of our lives. You'd be like, no, man, I'd rather read other books. Why am I just going to? And so the proposition of the hour is, if you just read it, is we're just like reading the same thing over and over again. But when you chant it, it's like you're hearing the greatest song ever, and you're participating in the greatest worship and the greatest act of love ever that you could.
See, maybe it won't be that hard. Maybe it's a little less like The Hobbit and more like people going to daily mass, because you do have a strong contingent of Catholics going to daily mass. And so just convincing that same crowd, like, hey, why don't we just pray matins before mass, or pray like terce after mass,
or vespers like before or after evening mass. Yeah, absolutely. Giorgio, we're going to solve cancer.
We're going to solve it.
I mean, whatever it is. But wait, a couple final notes on the Europe thing. So I want to ask you where you're headed, because I didn't know you were traveling with a children's choir. That is lit.
We're bringing 50 people out there, so there's going to be
dirty dog.
It's not just singers; it's like their families and
Why
some
didn't,
families.
I want to come on this trip.
Like,
Why didn't you invite me? I feel
sign
slighted.
up to our newsletter. We'll keep you updated.
Floriani's taking all these kids.
No. It's a separate thing.
Oh, this is part of like a parish.
It's kind of like my
at?
Chant for Children thing that I'm getting involved in, and really trying to see, as much as you're involved in getting like the world to sing The Office, I want children to sing Gregorian chant again.
They need to. It's the only way that they're going to start singing The Office.
It's the only way that we're going to build it into like, this builds into your goal. It builds into the goal of like getting kids to own the patrimony of the church and to like redeliver it on.
Dude, this is good. Giorgio, we gotta do another episode. I did want to say, I was only ever kicked out of a church in France.
What they do?
I was in, have you ever been to Béziers? The cathedral. This is where one of the Albigensian massacres was. When we were just like, let's kill them all. And the cathedral was burned down, but then rebuilt, and it's the same cathedral. It's been there for like whatever. So I go up into the rafters, and I'm gently singing gorgeous reverb. These Gothic churches that are all stone. It's like, mamas, beautiful reverbs. But then this lady started playing Disney show tunes on a boombox, putting it on the altar. And I was like, nah, I'm just going to keep chanting. And then I kept seeing her down there like a little ant, because I was so high up, pausing it, looking around, listening, and then playing it again. I was like, I think she doesn't like that we're singing. But we just finished the office, because I'm in the middle of terce. I have to finish terce. And plus, there was nobody in there. There was nothing going on before. And it's better than Disney show tunes. So then, like, literally, it was either that or K-pop or a French version of both.
It was probably some like French Christian rock.
No, it wasn't Christian. It was definitely secular. Okay. It was like weird music. It was very strange. And she put the boombox in the sanctuary. So I'm just like finishing my office. And then finally I'm like, well, let's go. So it's like 4 p.m. or whatever. And we go down this spiral staircase. It was really high up. And we get to the bottom, and there she is. And she says in French, like, was that you singing? My wife speaks French. And my wife was like, we were praying. Yes, we were chanting. And she said, no, you cannot do this. And we were like, we were just, we didn't mean to. And she said, we're closed. You must leave. And I was like, it says on the sign right here, it closed at 5. She's like, we're closed. You must leave. And as we leave, a massive tour group was heading in and starting their tour. And I was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that some crazy hostility?
I would have totally been like, we're not leaving. You can leave.
And just
like,
Giorgio, you don't know French.
I know, we gotta be,
it wouldn't have worked. But I will say this, that I've sung, and you've probably sung in countless dozen churches before in Italy and even in France. And only 1.5 times have I ever been kicked out. And 99 times it has changed people's lives. It's changed my life. It's added sacredness to the space. I almost feel bad even telling those stories, Giorgio, because it's never bad.
Yeah, I think like most of the time people are really moved at it, and even the people who are like running the church are like, wow,
they love it.
This is what this was built for. A random place that I have sung at and I kind of want to mention it just
Please
for fun. I was in Istanbul last fall, and I went to, it's called the Basilica Cisterns. Basilica Cisterns is this like weird underground structure that they used to fill with water. And it looks like the Mines of Moria. So you have like these huge pillars holding up like the ground level. And then it would fill with water like way back in medieval times. So I asked the security guard, like, hey, can I sing a little something? So I sang a Kyrie from Mass 9, which is the Kyrie eleison. Yeah. So I kind of abbreviated it, but it was pretty cool. Just like, it wasn't like a super reverberant area, but you could hear a 3 or 4 second just kind of distant echo.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Underground.
So
there are probably, I'm a firm believer in the romantic poetic stuff like this. I bet you there were some ancient speckles of buried bones there. People who drowned a long time ago in the cistern, and they were shot from purgatory straight into heavenly realm because that sound jiggled their little bits of DNA and bone. And next thing you know, boom, they're like, thank you, Giorgio. That security guard doesn't realize that he himself was a huge conduit of grace. And when he dies and goes to heaven, let's say he doesn't believe in God, God's going to be like, well done, good and faithful servant. He's going to be like, what? I did nothing to merit. He said, you enabled so many souls to be sprung from purgatory with your gracious act to Giorgio. He's going to be like, who the heck is Giorgio? Oh, it was Batman with the beard.
I think it's like just a cool topic in general, like the sacramental nature of music.
Yeah.
Because you think sacraments like, oh, well, it's like holy water and, the whatever other, physical things that are part of the sacrament. But what about music, which is a physical phenomenon? It's not like a substance, but it's like a motion. I don't know, what is music like? It's a motion in the air, and
it's vibration.
But it's something that
it's vibration,
right? Like waves, but they're like holy vibrations, holy waves. That
this is a great point. Yeah. This is a fantastic point because God spoke and the world was created. He said, "Let there be light." And God says, be healed, Christ, when he does miracles, and the voice confers the grace, the command itself, the sound. In baptism, you have a simple declaration, I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You have a little water, so there's multiple things at play here. And then in like the Eucharist, the priest simply says, this is my body, and boom, body and blood of Christ. So we know that sound itself can as long as it's in these cases with the proper intention, like God, it wasn't the exact sound that caused God to create the universe, but it was God, when he thinks of something, it exists. But then Tolkien, like I said, I think romantic, like Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, when he writes the Silmarillion and he tells the creation story, it's all music. God starts a song, and then all the other like lesser gods, like the water god, then has one part to play in that song. And then Satan, Morgoth, what he does is he starts freestyling his own music, and that
freestyle is from the devil. So
that is the original fall in Tolkien's universe. Is Morgoth wants his own tonality, messes with the music of creation. Yeah. So it's a really interesting idea that Tolkien doesn't necessarily, he's not making a theological argument, but he's making a poetic romantic exploration of, just as you did, that sound, music, obviously there's something creative, there's something world shaping, bending, something going on.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, yeah, you have this idea even within, the medieval mind, the music of the spheres, like music is what is moving the universe. And it moves the heavens, and it has a much more profound, really relation to our life, even to the cosmic level.
Yes.
Yeah.
The cosmos, dude.
I did want to push back gently on your use of freestyle. Because I love freestyling chant. I think what you meant to say though was Morgoth. Does he basically does his own, like, I'm not going to do. Is it the god's name Iluvatar in Tolkien? I haven't read the Silmarillion.
That's a good shout.
But basically, he's like, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to do my own thing. I am a big defender of freestyling. Do you ever freestyle chant?
Did I strike a chord with you? Do I ever freestyle chant? So we're talking about. Let's do an example. Let's say, are you talking about chant proper?
Yeah, just like, I don't know.
If I'm solo, if I'm with a group cantering or solo, do you freestyle
solo,
as a group?
If you're a soloist.
Okay, so if I'm a cantor, or I am fulfilling the office of cantor extraordinarily, and I'm doing Requiem Aeternam. Are you talking about maybe
like that,
doing something like this? Requiem like, what are you saying?
Probably
freestyle?
a little
Freestyle Requiem Aeternam. Go.
Yeah. Maybe a little less jazzy.
Yeah, that was too. That's all. Like, what are you talking about? You're just going to make it Middle Eastern. That's what you do, buddies.
Yes.
Let's hear it. Let's hear your Middle Eastern twirls.
Okay, so I don't know. You really want to hear it? So Salve Regina, like if you have a Salve, like instead of doing that, you can Salve, something like that. I don't know.
There's a couple of dudes. There's a whole chant school that does that sort of thing. I don't think that's wrong. I don't even think that's freestyling, because I've heard people make the argument that the swoop-de-noop of the salve. I've read arguments that those are supposed to be salve.
Yeah, there's a way of doing the chant but you're still following like the rule of the chant.
Yeah. So it's not totally freestyling. That's what you're advocating with proper. Is you're advocating a little more freedom.
Yeah.
But a legitimate freedom that's still based on the text. I think you're right.
I guess I'm also advocating for a little bit of freestyling, especially if you're a soloist and you can do it. I think you see that in the development of Western music, especially like when you get into polyphony. Like if you're a cantor and you have, let's even go back to like pre the turn of the millennium. With semiology, like you don't have the Guido d'Arezzo, square notations. You just have the scribbles in your music that kind of they show the shape of the melody.
Yeah,
and so I think it's without a doubt that a lot of these soloist cantors would probably be improvising melodies as they were singing them, just like based off taste.
Could be. It also, I've heard that argument, and I've also heard the counter argument that they were just putting the scribbles to paper from chants that they had really safeguarded for like 500 to 1,000 to 1,500 years. Like, you've even told me that like certain of these styles probably came from the Jerusalem temple, like Tonus Peregrinus. So it's probably both and. No rule could be said about the thing I love is that, like, even I was talking to the Norbertines today, and they were like, our Salve Regina goes like this. Our Pater Noster goes like this. And this is from our chant books from the 11th century. And it's very slight variations, but the variations are an illustration of the fact that a lot of this stuff is very, very safeguarded and precise, but there's also a lot of legitimate, beautiful, maybe freestyling.
Yeah, no, it is interesting because people call me trad a lot, and I'm like, I'm kind of a progressivist when it comes to chant. I don't know.
No, you are.
I'm a mix. I think
you wrote your own beautiful Salve Regina, and I had you sing it at my wedding because it's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
very progressive of me because I'm using a composition of a young untested Christian Bale Batman boy. So we got to wrap up in a minute here, but you gotta close by telling us. I'll share a little bit about what our trip is because we're missing each other like ships in the night. We're both going to Italy in August. So I'll start so you can close out and then I'll give a final remark. So we're going August, first 2 weeks of August. We're going with a crazy group of various family. And I mean, the age range on this trip is 0 to 90 years old.
That's amazing.
So it's very multi-generational trip.
0 being Carmela.
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Our little Carmelite. So it's going to be about like 15 of us and family and friends. We always bring a priest along. So we're going to do like we always do in Italy. At every single stop, we are going to do daily mass, but also this priest and I, we don't miss an hour. But we always just pop into a little tiny country church. And wherever we are, every 3 hours, we just like, and it makes traveling actually really, really fun because it forces you to actually make more like random, like you never would have gone into this tiny little side street chapel before. But now we gotta sing daytime prayers, and we're just gonna pop.
Do you guys
in
ever
here.
have to like do back to back? Like, I don't know.
Of course,
Yeah.
especially if it's very natural to do matins and lauds back to back.
Yeah.
And occasionally we'll combine or like mass and liturgy the hours, which is a new
Okay.
thing people do sometimes. And
Yeah,
then-
that is your wedding was like that. That was I liked it.
It was kinda nice.
It was unique.
it just
weddings can
beefed
tend to
out.
be the
It just
same.
beefed out the wedding more
Yeah.
with more scriptural singing. What could be better?
I did like that. Yeah.
So what are you doing in Italy?
So I direct a children's school in Tempe, Arizona, and the family, one family at least approached me after mass one day. They're like, "Hey, like you've gone to Rome before. Like, what if we just like took a bunch of these kids to Rome?" I was like, "That's a great idea." I'm like, I'll ask the families, and all the families got really excited, and so they all started fundraising. And the kids are going to sing at the Vatican. They're going to sing at Santissima Trinita, 2 masses there. And then, but really what I'm most excited for is what we were talking about, which is just going into the Pantheon and letting loose the solemn tone Salve Regina.
So
Like,
you've done a combination of scheduling some like concerts,
Yeah.
basically,
No, masses, yeah.
but then you're also going to drag these kids around and just have them chant in places. Bro, that is absolutely wonderful. You should, man, I wish we could combine forces because if you had invited me on this trip, by the end of it, these kids would have been fully able for the rest of their lives to also just chant Liturgy of the Hours anywhere. Cause that's basically what that it's like you and I need to do a combo pilgrimage like that. It's just written in the stars.
Yeah.
So if you guys would like to see Giorgio and I do a pilgrimage where we stop in every place and we do solemn chant and solemn masses and we just like set these buildings on fire, and I love the idea of intergenerational. I love to travel. I just can't stand how so much of our culture is like, let the 90-year-olds hang out with the 90-year-olds in the retirement homes.
Isn't that terrible?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I almost prefer to travel with like somebody who's like decrepit.
I think it's actually just
My uncle makes a joke that he's quote unquote decrepit. I'm not saying I wasn't trying to be pejorative.
I think just to confirm the point, like it's more Catholic, like Catholicity has more to do with, it has to do with like every nation on earth, but it also has to do with like different people in different like times of their life. Like we need to bring together the generations and not,
because dude, like how much of a consolation, let's say you had 30 children singing and 30 old people just coming along. How much of a consolation would it be for the 30 old people just to see these beautiful, beautiful chants sung by these beautiful children? And how much of a lasting memory of what they're safeguarding would it be for the children to see these old people still believe this? They still treasure this. And so this is not for now. This is for my whole life, even when I'm old and gray. That's what happens when you mix generations. When you keep everybody apart, then you have to constantly be fighting the battle. Like, I need to reinvent this for myself when I'm 25, because the mass music when I was 16 was like the Life Teen mass music, and it was all like happy and really excited about Jesus. And, and now that I'm 25, that doesn't really speak to me anymore. Right. So I need to reinvent my engagement with religion. Right, I need to rediscover it, which is why it's good that you're teaching these kids these chants, because the chants is not old music or new music or trendy music. It's eternal music, like you've been talking about.
Eternal.
And so why it's not like you're saying like, I'm going to show these kids the better music from the early 19th century. You're probably singing chants we don't even know what century it came from. It's just like
probably the time of Christ. Actually, literally the time of Christ.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Right,
and so, and it's also something where the old people and the young people can together, like,
yes. I agree.
Dude, sorry. That just was a crazy. I just am, dude, honestly, you've blown my mind. I cannot believe that
great.
you are taking 30 kids.
There are going to be 17 kids, and then the rest are family. So there's 33 other family members.
I cannot believe that you are taking 17 children to just sing in churches. Are you just going to Rome?
So it's going to be Rome, and then 2 days in Florence.
That's amazing. That would change. These kids are never. There's going to be 3 vocations because of this trip.
I think it's change lives, change hearts, change lives.
Giorgio, I'm very, very happy we had this conversation. I'm very happy that our paths crossed here. Hope you enjoy your event this weekend, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah,
I look forward to more collaboration in the future. And we paisani gotta stick together.
Let's stick together.
Yeah.
Good
Cheers,
work.
mate.
Cheers to that.
Thank you.